everybody, I'm Bill Sanders, and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today we're going to be talking about Armin Strom. And Armin Strom is a very interesting watch company. It's named after and founded by Armin Strom. Now he goes way back. He began as a watchmaker back in '67, and then it was up. He was making some watches and doing a lot of watch repairs and so forth. And then in 1981, he this is his was his first masterpiece, this pocket watch with the moon phase and three subdials, and it's really a really it is a masterpiece. Now we got to jump up, and this is happens a lot. What we've been Some of the other companies we've been looking at that have really are new millennial in terms of that they really sort of came alive as a company after 2000. Now, between 1980-ish and 1990-ish, he became known. In fact, he won a world's Guinness Book of World Records for the smallest skeletonized ladies' watch at one time. But that was his big thing. He was known for the what they call open work now, but it was basically taking watches and cutting out everything so you could see how everything worked. And his collection today really reflects that. Now, in 2006, they incorporated, and so they needed the money, all right, to really make it into a bigger company. And then in 2008, by 2008 they had a different owner and director and so forth. Armin Strom as a person was still with them. Now, their first in-house was called the ARM09, and this was in 2009. So you can see that it's really, in terms of doing things, it's really about the last 10 years or so. Okay, now in 2011, Armin Strom retired. Okay, now remember, this guy started working back in 1967, so he was of a certain age. All right, so let's take a look at the Armin Strom watches that are available. And one of the things that you should know is that they have a relatively limited run of each one. Each one is about 100 pieces. Now that may sound like this is really rare, but there are so many different variations that it's really a good number of watches. Okay, now this is the ARM09. This was the first one, and they have a number of very unusual names for the watches, and so bear with me on this one. And I'm following the movements as much as I am the styles of the watches. This one, 1 week Earth. It's in the Earth. There's Earth, water, air, wind, rain, and fire. These describe more the materials that they're made of, and so that's something else you'll see. And they have this whole thing worked out somehow. I don't know their naming system for their movements. The '09 may have something. It was first developed in 2009. Okay, and so you can see there's the open work on this watch, and you can see everything inside and so forth. And this is, like I said, this is the first one. It's a manual wine watch. Now, this next one, there were some racing watches, and there was all kinds of involvement with racing that Armin Strom had. There was this thing called the Gumball 500 or something like that they were involved with that as well. Now, the racing gravity is a automatic, whereas the racing manual is a manual wind up, and they have separate movements for each one of those. But the interesting thing is that if I don't know if you can see it up there or not, but the the finish is all looks like somebody just randomly have scratches. Well, they're made out of an engine block of a F1 Razor, Formula One. So I'm not sure what it's made. It's either I think it would be a type of aluminum, but I'm just not sure what the Formula One engine blocks are made from. But they have it was a very interesting what they have done with that, with the both the Racing Manual and Racing Gravity. Online, you can find some older ones by Armstrong from the racing era, but I think that some of the earlier ones, I think they don't have the in-house movements that the ones after 2009 had. There may be some that have out-of-house movements before then, but I think that for the racing watches, you want to look at the Racing Gravity and Manual. Okay, the next one, now this is the one that's interesting. It's the double barrel, or edge, they call it edge double barrel. Again, I'm not sure where they get the names from. It's got an 8-day reserve, and it has a double, what's called a double going barrel, two barrels that are going barrels. A going barrel simply means that you can wind it and it'll run at the same time. So if you want to, you want to set it and then you start winding it, the time's gonna be okay. And this has an 8-day reserve. That's the big thing about this watch. And they're relatively simple in this sense, is that this one is pretty much time with a power reserve indicator, and that's pretty much it. You can see so much of it, though. You can see the barrels, and they even have cutaways around the barrels. Really an interesting watch. Okay, this next thing is something that they just came out with in 2017, and it's really interesting. It's called the Armstrong Configurator. I call it a bargain bespoke. What you can do, you can go online and you can create your own watch. And you can see it there, a picture of it. And so I thought, well, I'll try it out. Now, in order to understand what the difference is, let's take a look at this one first. Now, here's a nice, simple one called the manual water. And again, water refers, I think it's water is for stainless steel. And the caliber is AMW11. Okay. So this is a fairly simple one here. So let's take a look at how I could take this watch and make it into something I'd really like. Well, I've been wanting a brown watch. I mean, something with a brown face for a long time, and so one of the options was that I could put in the top part of the movement. The base could be, or the plate could be brown. So I thought I'd choose that. And then I had the golden, certain parts of gold on the dial and on the second hand. And so I thought that looked sort of neat. And you can see it from the front or the back. And then you simply go through it and you can save it. And this is what it finally ended up looking like. Now, if you compare it to the original manual water, you can see you can do quite a bit. And so that's my custom configured Armstrong watch. Okay, now this next one is a big deal. This is their mirrored force resonance. Fire is the name of their gold watches. That's where the fire comes from. And it's running on an ARF-15. Now, this is a resonance watch, and if you look at the big black subdial there, and then to the left of that, you'll see these two wheels. Now, what they do is that they're the resonance wheels, and each one they work to keep each other in sync. The only other ones is Beat Holloman has a resonance watch, and this is my resonance watch by F.P. Journe. There are not very many of them, and so I thought it was a big deal. And they also made the pre-selected list for at the Grand Prix d'Horlogerie. I believe, I think there's a mechanical exception, but I'm not sure if that's the category or not. But anyway, this is the first time that they've made it into it. I'm not sure how many other entries they've had, and they're a pretty young company, so it couldn't have been too many. So this one I think is that's a very very interesting watch. Is called a mirror force resonance. Okay, let's go on. This they also make Tourbillon. And the tourbillon that they have is they have several different ones, and they have the skeleton eye. This is the skeleton one, and the skeleton one you can see all of the parts inside. You have again you have those double going barrels, and in addition to the tourbillon, and in addition to the skeletonized version, really a very very interesting watch. The This next one is part of the Earth, and the Earth are PVC covered. They have a black PVC cover on the thing, and this is called the ARM09S for skeletonized. Now these are simply just skeletonized watches going back to the roots of Armstrong back in the 80s and 90s, where he became really quite famous for making these skeletonized. Now, I know open faces or open worked is what sort of the modern term, but they call it skeleton, so I will too. And this again is a double barrel watch, but this is their simpler one. Okay, it's basically like their manual with the big barrels, except it's skeletonized. Okay, finally, this last one is their gravity date air, and again, this is a relatively simple watch. It's an automatic. That's where if it says gravity, it's an automatic, and have a movement ADD 14. Now, one of the things I think that's important about Armstrong is that they have so many different movements for their watches. They have the double barrel. They have the resonance. They have a tourbillon. It's a little company. It's a lot of movements. And the interesting thing about this company, it reminds me somewhat of Bovet in certain respects, is that there's no star. Now remember, Armstrong retired in 2011, and so he's not the guy making the majority of these movements. But you have these people who are very good. Now you take a company like Patek Philippe, Vacheron Constantin, Jaeger-LeCoultre, Audemars Piguet, or Bovet, and there's no name. This is a named one. Here you have a name that is identified with, but you've got somebody else doing the development work. We don't know too much about unless you really done a lot of your research. We don't know, who are the developers for Patek Philippe. Now, there are a lot of them. Now, on the other hand, we know F.P. Journe as he does the design, the movement development, everything else. The same thing with Kari Voutilainen and Philippe Dufour. I mean, all of these, we associate it so much with the name of the company is named after one of the major people. Well, this was the same way, but in 2006 they incorporated, and then so it's again, like I said, these things are sort of these new millennial, and some of them have rock stars like F.P. Journe, and other ones are really sort of some anonymous but very, very talented watchmakers. And Armin Strom, I think, has the good roots in he sort of set the sail and the direction for for what was his company. But now it's in other good hands too. Same thing with the Beauvais. None of the Beauvais family is involved in that anymore, and but they live in they live in their old castle. Okay, so I'd really like to hear what you think of this. If you're interested in this kind of watch, you can take a look at it. Play with that configurator. That is more fun. It doesn't cost anything. Just go in there and make your own watch. It's sort of like having a bespoke watch, and the different things you can do with it. Very good idea. I really like it. And this is a small company, so they have a lot of flexibility. Okay, so please leave your comment. This is an invitation to subscribe if you like. And I hope to see you on Sunday. Bill Sanders for Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection.